இவர் எழுத்துக்களுக்கு உண்டு கீர்த்தி. உண்மையின் மேல் இவருக்கோ பிரீத்தி. இவர் உரையை கேட்டால் ஆகும் நம் அறிவு விருத்தி. இன்று சமுதாயத்தை நிமிர்த்த உழைப்பவர்களில் ஒருவர். அவர்தான் பிரபல பத்திரிகை எழுத்தாளர் திரு எஸ். குருமூர்த்தி அவர்கள்.
We request you, sir, to enlighten this august gathering.
Swami Gautamananda Maharaj, with whom I share a very special relationship in the Ramakrishna mission. Swami Vimurtananda, the editor of Ramakrishna Vijayam. Sri Nataraj, IPS, with whom I had a conversation on the side that if he were not a policeman, he would probably be a philosopher. And my friend and the editor of Dinamani, Sri Vaidyanathan, and Mr. Devarajan, and the monks of the Ramakrishna order, who have a special role in shaping my thoughts and also my very idea of the nation and the world. And this is the great institution to which I belong. I was shaped by the masters in Vivekananda College. And dear brothers and sisters, see, today we have gathered here to recall a person who defined the idea of India. That so many youngsters, students participated in the drawing competition, over 30,000 students all over the country, is a very unique achievement. Because to capture Swami Vivekananda in a physical form requires not only skill but also devotion. No art comes without devotion. So the easiest and the best way of generating devotion in a person is to teach him art. And painting is like music, a devotional art. Of course, all arts have their distortions also, but here this competition promotes the devotional part of the art, and I am extremely happy that the students who are assembled here are the winners in this competition, and this function coincides with recalling a great leader who shaped the Indian mind. Swami Vivekananda was no ordinary person. He was a human dynamo. And he energized a country which had virtually fallen apart as a broken civilization. Today we see a mighty nation on the rise. Today the whole world is looking at India as the fastest growing economy, with a military might, with a social cohesion, democracy, and much of what Indians did not know about India, the world is telling us today. For instance, that India is going to be the engine of growth for the world is not a finding by any Indian. It is the think tanks in the West which now see India as not only a rising power, but as a power which is likely to drive the world in future. In fact, as someone who has some familiarity with economics, the economics of India is influenced by the culture of India. It is built on the foundations of the spiritual values of the Indian people. And Swami Vivekananda, when he looked at India, and he said that every nation has a special character, and the Indian character is spirituality. And many people did not understand the implication of what Swamiji was saying. the Indian spirituality is not divorced from materiality. But the definition of material culture in India is founded on the civilizational and spiritual code of India, and that is the point I would like to emphasize here. You see, today in the world there is a huge economic crisis. In fact, a mighty country like America, which was the cynosure of the world, in every country in the world, if there was any one consulate before whom hundreds of people would stand in queue to get an admission to go to that country, it was the United States of America. It was not happening in 1 year. It was happening year after year. It was happening in Russia. It was happening in China. It was happening in Europe. It was happening in Asia. And in Bombay, if you go and see the Consulate General office, different political parties have put tents so that those who stand in queue can get tea, coffee, free of cost, so as to win the heart of the people who are going out of India to America. The political parties had built even tents for these people to go and have a cup of tea or coffee. That is the might with which America attracted the world. And it was a military power, an intellectual power, and a country with great soft power. Harvard University, Stanford University, mighty companies, and it was playing a huge role. And the country's currency, which is a national currency, had become the global currency. There is no world trade possible without dollar. And when the American Federal Reserve System used to change the policies, the global stock markets would go down, go up and come down. So a nation's economic policies, announcement by some Treasury Secretary in America, would influence the course of the world. That was the might of the United States of America. But today that country is in very deep trouble. Many people see it as an economic crisis, a financial crisis. It's just a mismanagement of the economy. Interest rates were unnecessarily cut. Lot of credits was introduced into the economy, and America is suffering because of its mistakes. But people who are not economists, people who are statesmen, people who know history, people who understand human nature, people who understand the course of a society, view it entirely differently. They don't look at it purely as an economic crisis. If one has to look at the state of America today, one has to understand what America has undergone in the last 25 years. You know, what has happened in America is a cultural collapse. It is the erosion in the spiritual values of America, represented by such great men as Abraham Lincoln. America cannot produce an Abraham Lincoln today. India can still produce a Vivekananda. And I will make it good. Today the crisis in America is that the material element has so madly dominated the idea of personal life, public life, social life, political life and economic life. Today, no person has any respect for anyone, any concept other than money. Dollars has replaced the idea of God. With the result, what happened? All other relationships have collapsed. There is no family. There is no idea of family. No one is responsible for anyone. One need not take care of the father or the mother. One need not take care of the near and dear. One need not take care of the infirm and the elderly. One need not take care of the unemployed people. So the idea on which a society is built is the idea of family. Family is the core of a society. It is there the cancer in America started 25 years ago. With the result today in America, there are more than 1/2 of the American families are single parent families, which is a term used to say that it is a family in which either the father or the mother is living with the children and not the father and the mother together. Either they are divorced or the family never had a father because the children were born for unwed mothers. And 30%, 33% of the pregnants are unwed school-going children. There are creches attached to school. And 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls carry babies in their arms, having become pregnant in school, and put the child in the baby in the creche and attend the school. And in fact, Newt Gingrich in 1994, who was the Senate chairman, equivalent to our Lok Sabha speaker, he said, if 12-year-olds become pregnant, 14-year-olds carry guns and shoot the teacher, 16-year-olds contract HIV positive, 18-year-olds get degrees and diplomas which they cannot read, what kind of civilization are we producing? But the nation did not introspect. The nation trusted the GDP. It trusted the American power outside. With the result, it was like a white ant bringing down a mighty structure. And what is the result of the erosion in families? Erosion in culture, erosion in spiritual values, erosion in human relationship, and relationships were substituted by contracts. The relation within the family between husband and wife, it was no more a relationship of higher order. It was merely a contractual relationship. And they took pride in saying that contracts are supreme and sacred in our society. With the result, relationships eroded. And when the relationships eroded, many people would dismiss it as a cultural issue, social issue, moral issue. But nobody saw it as an economic issue, because if there is no family, if one need not have to take care of his parents, one need not have to take care of his infirm brother or sister, one need not have to take care of his unemployed son or daughter, one need not have to educate his son or daughter. In America, at the age of 16, if a son lives with the father, it is socially demeaning. Are you still living with your father? You are 16. You are supposed to go out and do something. So it became a social virtue not to depend on the family. Be on your own. With the result, everybody disowned everybody. And when the family did not have an objective, it did not have a cultural objective, it did not have a moral objective, it did not have a spiritual objective, so it had no economic objective also. With the result, the American people stopped savings because there is nothing to save for, and they began spending. And they began spending not only their income, they began spending out of borrowing. They began borrowing and spending. You will be amazed to know, credit card was introduced in America in the year 1986. In the year 2001, the number of credit cards in circulation in America was 120 crores for a population of 30 crores. Every person had 6 credit cards. And the amount of debt they owed on the credit cards was 1,50,000 crores in the year 2007. This is not money which they borrowed for making any investment or buying a house. This is money which they borrowed for their day-to-day expenses. And the whole American economy was driven by expenditure, consumption. And through American consumption, the global economy was being driven. China grew, Korea grew, Taiwan grew, Asians grew. Because the Americans were spending money and these people were selling their goods to America. America was borrowing from them and buying and paying for the goods. With the result, it was merely a recycling of money from America, and America began printing dollars and dollars and dollars. Because if people do not save money, the country's banks cannot have money. We save our money and put it in banks. You know, this year, our savings is 7,50,000 crores. This is from families. Our family savings is 80% of national savings. The balance 20% savings is by corporate. Of course, the government does not save. The government always spends. How a culturally driven economy saves and a culturally deteriorated economy spends. And when they began spending money beyond their income, they began borrowing money from the rest of the world. In the year 1980, America was the greatest lender to the world. Today, America is the greatest borrower from the world. It has borrowed over $14 trillion. $1 trillion is 48 lakh crores. So you can understand the extent of money America is borrowing. This year alone, America will be borrowing 150 lakh crores. And in fact, one economist said if America does not borrow money, it will not be able to pay salary to the President of the United States of America. How did this deterioration take place for a mighty power? The deterioration took place because of devaluation of womanhood, trivializing women, destroying family values, disabling elders, and a complete destruction of the idea of family. And in contrast, you see Japan, you see China, you see Taiwan, you see Korea, you see India. These countries are built on the foundation of families. In fact, in America, because the family ceased to be a viable instrument, the responsibilities of the families had fallen on the government. Whether it's looking after the parents or unemployed people or infirm people, people who cannot look after themselves, who the family looks after today in India, a person getting an employment amounts to a family getting employment in India. My son has got employment, I need not worry hereafter. This you can never hear in America. With the result, all the responsibilities of the families fell on the government. Families were nationalized. And when the government takes over the role of the families, becomes the father, becomes the brother, becomes the son, becomes the wife, it is saddled with so much burden. The government has to give up its responsibilities, building roads, building bridges, airports, seaports, railways, bus, water supply, which are all supposed to be the special responsibilities of the government for the last thousands of years. You look at the history of any country, the biggest duty of the state is to provide roads, water, waterways, and those responsibilities the government had to give up, and they were privatized. So it is privatizing the government and nationalizing the families that became the economic model. This did not happen by accident. This happened by design. This happened by a cultural design, a spiritual design, a moral design, a social design, which was equated to modernity. In India, if that idea of modernity failed, if this concept of development was not accepted, if this nation resisted this, it is because of the spiritual moorings of India. Even today, a teacher in a village commands more respect than an MLA. I'll tell you a small incident in my life. There was a huge caste war between two communities in 1990, I think, in Madurai and other surrounding areas. We in Indian Express decided to find out what is the reason for the caste war. And when we sent our reporters, the villagers did not allow them to get in. Politicians could not get in. Police people could not get in. Then we went and approached some of the sannyasis. And you know, the people who were at the height of their anger and revenge, when the Swamijis came, they went and touched the feet and allowed them inside. And you know, even policemen had to go in mufti behind the sannyasis. The country respects only those who renounce in this country. And see the values built. As a result, if you see in India, how culture and spiritual and moral values build economics in India. Our savings to GDP ratio was 23% in 1991. And when everybody thought that if Indians' income increase, Indians, like any other society, will begin spending more. And so multinational companies came and set up shops in India, hoping to sell goods. And the Indian housewives, they were more intelligent than the multinational companies. They sang the advertisement songs but did not buy the goods. And with the result today, the savings to GDP ratio in India is 39%. From 23% savings to GDP ratio has returned. And in the last 20 years, 19 years, if you look at what is the amount of foreign investment India needed, and how much is the foreign investment India got, I have seen many policy makers telling, Guru, you should not oppose these foreign investment policies. Without foreign investment, India can never grow. We cannot build bridges, we cannot build roads, we cannot rebuild railways, and so we need foreign investment. You know what is the position today? In 19 years, if you look at the total investment that has taken place in India, only 2% savings has come, investment has come from outside, and that too largely in the stock market. And today Goldman Sachs, which is possibly the top banking institution in the world, they have come out with a report that till 2025, India will have a savings to GDP ratio of 40%, and India will not be needing $1 of investment from abroad to develop this country. You know why this strength? Where does this strength come from? Where does this forbearance come from? This is because of the non-aggressive consumption. It is because of careful savings, moderation in lifestyle. It is because of that. Where does all this come from? It is only rooted in the spiritual values of India. When Swami Vivekananda said that India will assume the leadership of the world, I am seeing Bharat Mata rising and ruling this world, and he had the vision. And today, if many foreign think tanks are saying India will assume the leadership of the world, it is not just in terms of GDP. It is not in terms of trade. It is not in terms of military might. India is perhaps the country's third largest army in the world. It is a nuclear power. And its aerospace capacity to conquer through its space technology, it is the 5th largest space technologist in the world. We are the largest scientific manpower. You know, there is in the Government of India website, there is an audit of the Government of India budget. In the year 2005, they put out a report that India will be producing annually 25 lakhs of graduates, 5 lakh engineers, which will be twice the amount of talent that China will be producing, and 10 times the talent America will be producing. This is fundamentally because we have preserved our lifestyle, our character, our morality. Despite all the things that we see, which we write in the newspapers, I am also a writer, Vaidyanathan is also a writer. What the newspaper publishes is not the true India. Simply, if you read the newspapers, you will think India is the country with a great crime rate and all that. You know, you look at the Human Development Report produced by UNDP. That gives the statistics of countries with crime rates. And it says, per 100,000 population, how many serious criminals are there in a country? Per 100,000 population, serious crimes, 680, United States of America. And then 650, 630, 500, 400, 300, 200, 100, 50, 20. India is the last country with just 4 serious crimes per 100,000 population. Our police official is sitting here. For 7 lakh villages in India, there are only 12,404 police stations till 2004 December. Maybe another 200 might have been added in this period. And in fact, he spoke the other day. Do you mean to say because of police officials like me, there is no crime in this city? There is no crime in this city because there are temples. There is Kapalishwar temple. There is Mongadu temple. It is these gods which make India safe. No police official anywhere in the world will utter this statement. That is why I said the man is basically a spiritualist and a philosopher. This is India. India is not what the newspapers say. The newspapers will say what has not happened or cannot happen. For example, if dogs bite human beings, no newspaper will write. If a human being bites the dog, the newspaper will write. Let us assume in Madras one mad man bit a dog. Man bites dog in Chennai. Next day, seeing this, another man bites the dog in Coimbatore. Man bites dog in Coimbatore. Let us assume the third day, somebody in Trichy bites the dog. In 1 week, if 7 such incidents are there, the newspapers will make it appear dogs have stopped biting human beings and human beings have started biting the dog. You know, in statistics, there is a principle called wrong sampling. The newspapers all over the world adopt wrong sampling. By wrong samples, define the character of a society. You know, all the wrong things that have happened in a society in India. 110 crore people. And all this news is published in the newspaper. But see, a country with 1 crore population, 2 crore population, 3 crore population, and a country with 110 crore population, you are equal to 100 countries. And all these are carried in one newspaper. So you compare, see the statistics in England, see here. Not knowing, we are 21 Englands, we are 20 Germanys, we are 25 France, we are almost 2.5 Americas. The real education about India is yet to begin in this country. The Indian people, the Indian women, for whom the highest regard. If India is driven today, its consumption is moderate. If the families are held together as a cultural, spiritual, social, religious, economic instrument, the credit for this goes to women. I am not saying this here. In the year 2005 in Sunny Valley in America, I delivered a lecture which is in Youth Tube. Indian economy has a feminine character. That is what Swami Vivekananda captured as the quality which will win for India the leadership of the world. That was the vision. Don't give up your spiritual values. You must progress materially. But if you give up your spiritual values in pursuit of material prosperity, India will be like any other country. India is not and will never be only because it holds on to spiritual values. And institutions like the Ramakrishna Mission and hundreds of other institutions which have been inspired by the Ramakrishna Mission have taught the spiritual values to the modern minds of India, and it is they who are responsible for a stable Indian economy. And I am extremely happy that I participated in this function to share my thoughts.